What up, you nerds? Fallout here, and today we're going over what I believe are the must-have weapons in Destiny 2 right now. And by the way, cherry on top, every weapon on my list is not only top shelf, but currently obtainable in the game one way or another. I mean, wouldn't you be pissed if I had a bunch of weapons on here like Shira's Wrath and then went, oh, by the way, can't get this gun in the game anymore? Get f***ed, idiot. No, my mama taught me right. Speaking of which, hit that like button on today's video if you enjoy, would ya? Much obliged. But real quick, do you sometimes get headaches or eye strain from looking at monitors for a really long period of time? If you do, good news. Today's video is sponsored by GMG. Between work, school, gaming for fun, we spend a lot of time these days just staring at screens or monitors. Unfortunately, that can cause real long-term damage to your eyes. Enter GMG. If you check me out when I stream on Twitch, you'll know that I actually wear my GMGs and have been wearing them for quite a while now, actually. As you can imagine, being a content creator, I look at monitors a lot and realized that GMG actually did really help in reducing headaches and overall eye strain from looking at monitors. GMG eyeglasses act as a protective shield against blue light. Wearing them can reduce eye strain, improve concentration, and maintain the quality of your vision over the long term against the effects of things like blue light. The model I'm wearing right now are called the Oranos, or the Adult Gohan if you prefer. I happen to like them, but if you're looking for a different style, don't worry, go on the GMG Performance website and browse. They have more styles for you to pick from. For Black Friday week, GMG is offering a huge 40% discount, but it's going to end on November 28th at midnight Pacific time, so don't miss your window. Head on down to the video description and click my link to get your pair for almost half off, and thank you again to GMG. All right, first weapon on our list today, Funnelweb. Funnelweb makes the cut for multiple reasons, but mainly that it's good in both PvE and PvP. On the PvE side, Funnelweb does a great job of ripping through enemies at close to mid-range. It's got the oh-so-clutch origin trait that really is difficult for other PvE weapons to touch, Vice Stinger. Every time you deal damage with Funnelweb, you have a chance to reload the mag. Huge, especially when one of your permanent enemies in PvE is needing to reload. Funnelweb comes with other perks that can further alleviate the pain of manually reloading, my favorite of which is Subsistence, although you can go for Pulse Monitor or Auto Loading if the urge grabs you. You've also got extra damage perk options like Adrenaline Junkie, Focused Fury, and Frenzy. I usually think Frenzy is the easiest to take advantage of, and it's my go-to pairing with Subsistence. With extra damage and deep mags, Funnelweb is a damn good weapon pairing for a Void Elemental Whale build. And even with all that PvE viability, Funnelweb actually performs great in PvP if you're a fan of the 900 RPM SMG archetype. The only downside to getting a good PvP Funnelweb is that I kind of view Rangefinder as a mandatory perk. Taking the SMG's zoom value from 14 up to 15 far outweighs any of the other perks available in column 4. The difference in performance in a low range, non-rangefinder Funnelweb and a high range rangefinder one is definitely noticeable. Here's the best news though, Funnelweb is easy peasy to get. Any Umbral engram can be taken to the helm and decrypted into a viced weapon at the star chart. That'll give you a 1 in 5 chance to have it be decrypted into a Funnelweb. Just do what I do. Play until you're loaded up on Umbrals, probably won't take long, then go to the helm and do a big viced engram dump all at once. Hopefully the majority of your drops are Funnelweb, and hopefully it'll have a good role for either activity. Next on our list, Drang. This one I may have to put a little asterisk on, because at the current moment, Drang is super hot fire in PvP, but next season could be anyone's guess. That being said, even with the uncertainty, I'm really confident in Drang. Bungie wanted to spice things up in Season 18 by upping the overall viability of sidearms, and they went way overboard. The weapon benefiting the most by far from those changes, Drang. Right now, at the current time of today's video going live, Bungie has yet to comment on their detailed sandbox changes for Season 19, which is coming in December. However, I would be willing to bet 1 week of me streaming on Twitch in a maid outfit and cat ears that Bungie 100% will be toning down Drang in one way or another, probably in the form of a zoom nerf. You see, Drang has unusually high zoom for a sidearm, and it's part of the reason why it popped off harder than most other sidearms in Season 18. Even if Bungie does tone down the Drang, by the way, sidearms are likely still going to be hot in PvP, and Drang is still going to be extremely easy to use and ruin people with. My logic is that, yeah, Bungie will roll back the sidearm buffs a little bit, but not to the point of turning it into a nerf if compared to pre-Season 18 sidearms. You feel me? They wouldn't undo what they've done and then some. They'll just mildly tone down the buff that sidearms got. So expect Drang to be not as hot as it is right now, but still fairly hot and definitely easy to use in Season 19. If you haven't touched Drang at all in Season 18, you're really missing out. It's essentially my turn brain off option in Trials when my aim is to go flawless. If you still haven't crafted one but have the ability to go high range with a full auto weapon mod, it's quite literally that easy. And in Season 19, you won't even need the full auto weapon mod anymore because we'll have the ability to do that in the in-game settings. If you need a base roll basic bitch Drang, you can get one from Banshee at the tower. And if you're looking for a Baroque, aka superior Drang, you can get that from the Crown of Sorrow area at the helm. The next weapon on my list, the Tipan 4FR. And believe it or not, that is the only legendary linear fusion rifle I'll be promoting today. Yeah, in the past I've also talked a big game on the Cataclysmic and a very big game on Reed's Regret, but here is the rub. At this point in the season, if you don't already have a Cataclysmic or a Reed, you're fairly late to the party. And by now, the easiest god tier LFR for you to get by far for PvE would be the Tipan 4FR. And don't let the way I phrased that get you down, by the way. The Tipan is really good. I'm expecting some kind of nerf to linear fusion rifles in Season 19 because they've been the go-to DPS option in dungeons and raids for kind of a while now. But the change shouldn't be too drastic. I'm thinking they'll still be really good overall. Tipan is easily acquired in D2. All you have to do is complete the Foundry Resonance quest found at the Enclave, and you'll be rewarded with a fully completed pattern for the gun, meaning you can now craft one. And no need to complicate things. Triple tap and firing line is 100% the play. And because the weapon has the top tier origin trait Vice Stinger, you're gonna have a ton of auto weapon reloading when doing DPS to a big target. It's just unreal. And yeah, maybe Reed's Regret is the easier LFR to take advantage of elemental wells during a damage phase with a well-planned team, but again, the Tipan can easily be paired together with Reaping Wellmaker for a similar effect. It's just as hot in the damage department, and it's really easy to acquire. Grab one now, IMO a mandatory weapon for endgame PvE and big DPS on a single target. Next up, the Timelost Found Verdict. Shotguns have kind of taken quite a beating in the overall D2 meta over the years. I guess Bungie was tired of them being the go-to easy option for PvE for a very long time and decided to cut them down repeatedly. Here at the end of Season 18, spread shotguns are fairly outshined by slug shotties in PvP, but in an ocean of complete mediocrity, Found Verdict somehow manages to stand out above all other pellet shotguns. At least it does to me. The overall shorter kill range than what it used to have is definitely noticeable, but I find that Found Verdict still manages to outperform other pellet shotguns with the right roll. Opening shot, IMO, kinda mandatory. In column 3, you could go for either slide shot or surplus. I personally am a fan of surplus. And by the way, good news and bad news. The good news is that Bungie has mentioned some kind of change coming in the near future to shotguns where maybe we'll have some kind of more consistent pellet spread across the board. I don't know about you, but to me that would be a major buff to how well shotties perform in PvP. If and when that does happen, Found Verdict will likely become even better than it is right now, so I recommend you invest in one if you haven't already. And here's the bad news. While the Verdict is obtainable to anyone, it's still a pain in the ass to get. You've got to grind out Spoils of Conquest tokens, then beat Vault of Glass on Master difficulty, and dump all your tokens into the endgame loot chest. At the very least, you will 100% get a Found Verdict, but the only question is, will it be a god roll? If you can, maybe try to group up with a bunch of people who are all trying to get a god roll Found Verdict and then do an Atheon run / token dump together. I think it's a great weapon right now, and it's only going to get better in Season 19. Next up, the BXR Battler. So few weapons have remained so consistent since their initial in-game debut as much as the BXR Battler. It seems that every time I turn around, I hear from another Guardian on Twitch, Reddit, whatever, about how they finally tried the BXR and immediately fell in love. It has good weapon stats, great perks available, and it's not terribly difficult to use in PvP. It even has really good hip fire. What more could you want? And the usage numbers kind of speak for themselves. If you check destinytracker.com, it'll tell you that the Battler is highly used in PvP right now in both competitive and quick play. Actually, at the time of me writing this, according to Destiny Tracker, it's the #1 most used weapon primary or otherwise in quick play. Hopefully you got a good roll from running Dares of Eternity, and in a perfect world, you have the ability to craft one yourself by now. Last I checked, there was some kind of an exploit where you could easily get multiple guaranteed deep sight BXR battlers by deleting a character and making a new one over and over again. Now, I'm not crazy enough to do that because I already have a role I really like, but if you're brand new or don't have one yet, could be worth it. Or you could just grind dares like a normal person and open loot packages until you get a good one. I think you've really got 3 good choices on that craftable BXR, by the way: a kill clip roll, an Eye of the Storm roll, or a blunt execution roll. Eye of the Storm is if you just want a really reliable, accurate 1v1 dueling weapon in PvP. Kill clip is if you want to get multi-kills a little bit easier, and blunt is there for if you have a really good up-close melee build. Remember, blunt will only kick in if you're relatively close to the enemy. You can't throw out a cross-map celestial fire to proc the perk. Regardless, the BXR is very, very good in PvP right now, and there's no signs of Bungie nerfing it anytime soon. Next up, the Calus Mini-Tool. Ever since the reintroduction of this gun into the loot pool, it's been an absolute staple in a ton of my PvE builds, mainly on any Solar 3.0 build I might have, including my Radiant Well Warlock, which will probably always be a strong option in endgame PvE. The Calus Mini-Tool has a lot of good perks that would make it thrive in PvE, but really the only one most people care about is Incandescent, and for good reason. It allows you to spread Scorch around for free just by getting kills with the weapon. So many Solar 3.0 builds immediately benefit from being paired together with such a weapon. Especially if you're trying to take advantage of a Solar Elemental Well build, I find that Calus Mini-Tool paired together with Witherhoard is the 1-2 punch of easy mode Solar Elemental Well generation for everybody. Icing on the cake, Mini-Tool potentially drops with Unrelenting in column 3.
Underdog, unrelenting.
Meaning not only can you free scorch the enemies and drop easy elemental wells, but you can heal yourself for free while doing it. Incredibly good PvE primary weapon. Go get one, go craft one. Oh, and if you don't have a mini tool just yet, you can get one the same way as Drang via the Crown of Sorrow area at the helm. Next up, we got a twofer: Forbearance and or the Dead Messenger. Let me explain. I wanted to put a good waveframe grenade launcher on today's list, so I started off with Forbearance for PvE. But then, thinking about it, I also wanted to do a top tier PvP grenade launcher, and I couldn't really make up my mind, so we're getting both here combined in one entry. If you haven't used a waveframe grenade launcher in PvE in a minute, they are effective and fun. Forbearance being my go-to is one of the only 2 craftable waveframe grenade launchers in the game right now. And no disrespect to the explosive personality, by the way. If you're more down with Solar 3.0 than you are with Arc, then by all means go craft a personality. I happen to prefer Forbearance for 2 reasons. 1, you've got Unrelenting in column 3, whereas personality has it in column 4, which clashes with the extra damage dealing perks. And 2, Chain Reaction, a really enjoyable perk to put onto your waveframe grenade launcher. You should make sure you have some kind of enhanced reload perk on your gauntlet armor when using a waveframe grenade launcher, but a crafted waveframe goes hard in PvE. You get a ton of value per shot. Unfortunately, Forbearance requires running the Vow of the Disciple raid. If that's too much of a headache for you, I get it. Explosive personality is way easier to get via the war table at the helm. On the PvP side, Dead Messenger is wild. I'm still kind of shocked at how many people out there are kind of sleeping on this weapon. Due to the aerial effectiveness system, which is an entirely different can of worms, it's kind of hard for the average player to fight while in the air. However, Dead Messenger kinda ignores the rules of AE because you don't have to be accurate with it when jumping in the air. You just shoot straight down and bam, huge spread, almost guaranteed damage. On the flip side, if you're fighting someone who has the Dead Messenger, your best bet to not take damage is often to jump away, which again, you don't usually want to jump these days in PvP because the AE system immediately puts you at a disadvantage. So on defense, your options are stay on the ground and take damage, or jump into the air and be put at a disadvantage. I really think that Dead Messenger is very strong in PvP right now, and I think more people will realize that going into Season 19. If you don't have the Dead Messenger, you can grab it by completing the Vox Obscura exotic mission. Moving on, our 8th weapon on the list, RB. And don't worry, I'm talking about PvE, not PvP. Although Arbalest still is annoying to fight in PvP for sure, its viability has been toned down to the point where it's not as oppressive as it was before Season 18. But the OG viability gameplay for Arbalest remains intact, being able to clown the vast majority of PvE activities. Arbalest dunks on two things pretty hard due to how the gun works. Thing number one, match game, a very annoying PvE modifier that Arby gets around by being able to punch enemy shields of any type extra hard. And thing number two, barrier champions, which again, its exotic perk allows it to handle very easily. Pair that together with the fact that you might already be rolling with a legendary linear power weapon because they're meta, and you're looking at a situation where you can just double down on ammo finder and scavenger mods without much thought. Arbalest in PvE is kind of the never a bad pick type situation. Again, yeah, it's entirely possible that Bungie over-nerfs linear fusion rifles in Season 19, but I can only imagine that RB will still be very viable in PvE. The only annoying thing about getting RB if you don't have one yet is that they're an exotic world drop, meaning you have to get lucky or wait for Xur to bring you one. Good news though, world drop exotics should be on the knockout system, i.e. if you don't have one yet and the game drops you an in-game exotic engram, your loot odds should be weighted towards things you don't yet have. TLDR, you'd have a higher chance of finding RB in the wild if you don't have one yet already. Weapon number 9 on today's list is a classic, Gjallarhorn. If you, for whatever reason, have not been bothered to get up off your butt and get one of the most infamous weapons ever ported over to D2 from D1, you are 100% fucked up. Gjallarhorn came in hot and has remained that way for pretty much the entire time. Even in the current age of the linear fusion rifle, Gjallarhorn is beastly strong and the king of all rocket launchers. If you want to insta-nuke a champion, even in GM difficulty content, the formula of 1 G-Horn plus 2 of literally any other rocket launcher is tried and true. As we all know, G-Horn gives nearby legendary rocket launchers Wolfpack rounds, so it's kind of like having triple Gjallarhorn but without needing to use 3 exotic power slots across the whole fire team. Almost every time I've speed ran a GM Nightfall in the past with speedrunners Aotera and Rosie, 9 times out of 10, the play is Gjallarhorn and 2 rockets and nuke everything to hell. If you don't have a Gjallarhorn yet, I believe you need both the 30th anniversary content pack and to complete the And Outfly the Wolves quest offered by Shah Han in the Cosmodrome. And last but absolutely not least, number 10, Divinity. Yeah, I'm fully aware that the weapon is getting nerfed in Season 19 following a huge community debate about the power level of the weapon in general. In Season 19, Divinity is getting its weapon debuff potency taken from 30% down to 15%. But even with that nerf, there is zero doubt in my mind that Divinity is going to remain a god tier endgame PvE weapon. Yes, it's getting the debuff damage factor reduced by half, but look at what else Divinity brings to any PvE party. You get the ability to provide your team with a constant debuff as long as you have ammo. Other debuff options in D2 have limited time durations and require a lot of really annoying micromanagement and reapplication. Think Tractor Cannon, for example. Divinity, on the other hand, can let you fully debuff an enemy from across the map for as long as you have special ammo for, which ain't really that hard to get. Not only that, but Divinity completely removes the need to really aim your weapon accurately at all. Divinity gives your fire team that big, beautiful blue bubble, and as long as you land that shot anywhere on the bubble, you're practically as accurate as Robin Hood. And while the bubble isn't always needed, certain raid encounters become a joke just by adding Divinity. Trying to consistently land headshots on Rulk is a total chore on its own until one person brings Divinity. Same thing for Taniks and Deepstone Crypt, and so on and so forth for future raid and dungeon enemies, I'm sure. Divinity will no longer be the numerically strongest debuff choice on paper, but it's highly likely to me that it will remain the best debuff choice by a mile. Honestly, if you're not confident at raiding and think you're a deadie to your friend group, just grab Divinity and become the group's permanent support/debuff player. You'll be the person people actually want to invite to the raid group because they know you've got Divinity covered already. The major downside is that getting Divinity remains, to this day, a very big pain. You've got to do the hidden exotic quest in the Garden of Salvation raid, but trust me, please, it is completely worth it. I'll stand by what I said before. Even with the Season 19 nerf, IMO Divinity will remain the best PvE gun in the entire game. If you think there are other must-have weapons in the game right now and going into Season 19, let me know what they are down in the comment section, including how to get them. You know, just for any new players out there who might be prepping up for next season or Lightfall. Please subscribe to my channel to help me with my oh so humble goal of one day becoming the sole ruler of the entire world. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on stream.